Can you introduce yourself to our readers?
My name is Dr. MATHOBELA MATJEKANE. Where am I from? Okay, I was born in Limpopo in a place called Linyenye. I studied there. I did my crash primary school, and I studied in a Catholic boarding school. I started studying there from standard 5, which I'm not sure what grade it is these days, but I think it's about grade, I don't know, grade 7.
Okay.
Yeah. And from there, I applied to the University of Cape Town, and that's where I did my MBCHB. Yeah.
So, how long does it take to study medicine?
To study medicine, it takes 7 years. Basically it's a 6-year degree, and then because the universities back then understood that there are children who were coming from very poor background, they had 2 streams, basically an extended stream and a straight stream, and the extended stream was the 7 years, which is what we did, and the other one, which was the main stream, was 6 years. From there you do internship, and then you do community service, which I understand now that community service is 2 years and internship is 1 year.
Okay, so what kind of a doctor are you?
I am a general practitioner, and I also did a diploma in HIV management, and I also had interest in what is called aesthetic medicine. Aesthetic medicine is basically about enhancing people's beauty and dealing more with how they look and make people look and feel better about themselves.
So, how long have you been in private practice?
I've been in private practice since 2008. That's when I opened my first GP practice in Kailicha, and then last year, 2013, I opened this Parklands branch.
So, before opening your own business or your own practice, did you work for somebody else or work for the government? Or how did you get yourself prepared to go on your own?
Okay, I think I always knew I'll never work for somebody for too long. That was something that was the bottom line about everything. And even when I had an opportunity to work as an intern or community doctor, I would always look and see how my colleagues were running their businesses. I remember at one time I did a locum at another doctor's practice, and I looked and checked all the medication they ordered, how they ran their things. And yeah, after that I decided, okay, I think I'm gonna go into private practice. I actually worked in the public sector for, I think, for 3 years, 3 to 4 years. Then I decided, no, I'm not gonna specialize. I'll stick to general practitioner.
What would you say are some of the greatest challenges you faced since you started your practice and as a woman in South Africa?
Okay, the challenges are very, very wide. They run from, when you study medicine, not much is said about running a business. Everything that you do afterwards, you equip yourself, you read more, you learn on the job, you make mistakes, you get up, you go, and that's how you learn it. So I think that is basically the major challenge of health science where we studied. They didn't focus a lot on people running their own businesses. So, and being a black woman, and the other thing, my observation, having started, I'm basically from Limpopo. I'm not from Cape Town. So when I came here, I did not know Xhosa. So but I did not let the language barrier stop me from practicing in a predominantly Xhosa population. And I remember colleagues asking me, but you don't know how to speak Xhosa, how are you going to communicate? At no point in time did I hire an interpreter. I would learn from my patients. They would laugh at me and say, oh, you can't pronounce it. But at the end of the day, I could relay the message. I could talk to them. They could connect with me, which was the most important thing. And some of them, along the conversation, they would then realize this person is not even speaking my language, and yet she understands me. And that's how I went about with that. Other challenges, sometimes there's not much enough mentorships out there. Who do you go to? Who do you talk to? Especially when you're starting a business, you're just like putting your feet down, doing this, doing that. And the one thing that I think is still a big challenge is, I want to say black people, but people as a whole, networking and referring and working together and just supporting each other, not with that mentality of, oh, we just want to support you, but really doing it for the sake of doing it and saying, you know what, we believe in you, we believe in what you're doing, and this is what we're going to do. That is one of the biggest challenges. I can give you differences between working in Kailicha and working in an up class, so to speak, parklands. In Kailicha, it's a community. People, when they like you, they don't just like you, they love you, they adore you, they would fight for you, and they would come to you and say, I didn't like this and that and that and that. And guess what? They will tell 10, 20 other people out there about you, and their family, their cousins will become your patients. And in this upmarket one, it's a whole different ballgame. People here, they feel like they want to keep you to themselves. They just want to know about you. You treat them and they go home. They're not really going to talk about you that much. And that becomes a limiting factor in the sense that your growth doesn't just expand. Then you start thinking, how do I grow? Where do I go? How do I market? Whereas in areas like townships, there's community radio stations. If you want to pass out the message, most people listen to that. But in an area that is so diverse, you don't know which platforms to use. Because I'm a small business, I managed to try and tap and see, okay, do I go this way? Do I go that way? So it's still trial and error. And I think time will tell.
In talking to other young black women who are sole proprietors or people who start their business, one of the things I tend to come across is finance. How did you get money to start your own practice? Where did you get help from your family? Was it government? Did government do anything? Was there any particular thing that you think you benefited from some government program or what? What do you think can that help other younger entrepreneurs coming up?
I think with me, I had no financial help from my parents or some hard cash stuck somewhere. No, I didn't. I think the one thing about our profession, when I looked at it, it didn't cost a lot of money to set up. And I guess maybe it's also because of other factors, but it didn't really cost me too much money to set it up. And yes, I had to get a loan from the bank, which wasn't like a lot. Maybe I borrowed about 30, 40 grand. And from there, I think discipline. I mean, if you make 10 rand and you blow it, you're not gonna go anywhere. You have to be disciplined and learn to manage whatever income stream that comes in, and be loyal and pay people. If it's month end, pay your employees. If it's rent, pay your rent. So it's not just about accessing the money, getting the loan. It's also about making sure that whatever needs to be done, you do it. Yes, for the first few months or whatever, you might not be profitable. You know, you might have to get to the point whereby you're breaking even and all that, but the fundamental things have to be covered going forward, and I think that is how it went on and on.
Well, they say that business, at least taking a loan from the bank, that's an investment. Did you say it was a wise decision to take a loan? Have you reaped the benefit, and are you reaping the benefit? Do you feel that you took a good decision to take the loan and branch out on your own?
Uh, yeah, yeah. I think it was a benefit and that, but I don't think it would have been any limiting factor for me had I not gotten the loan from the bank, because it wasn't even a lot of money. Come to think of it, for like really, when I think about it, it wasn't such a lot of money. In other words, I'm saying people must not say the bank is not loaning me money, so I can't do A B C D. As long as you have a plan and you go for it, you can do it. The bank was just another way of making the whole thing happen.
You think because of the kind of profession that you're engaged in, I'm sure you come across a lot of women that come around to you or something like that now. What would you say to women out there, especially the younger ones who look up to you and see they want to be like you? What can they do to prepare themselves so they can achieve what you have achieved or what you are achieving today?
Okay. As far as that is concerned, I think I come from I don't come from a rich family. My parents were not loaded with money, but they had a lot of discipline. You know, it was a Christian background, there was discipline, things get done this way. And I think the most important message is that there are no shortcuts. You have to go to school, you have to study, and you have to sit down. I always tell my cousins and say, guys, there's a time for everything, and it's just like that. I couldn't have jumped and been a mother when I was supposed to be in varsity. Yes, the challenges are there of being of getting to varsity and you being on your own and you get a boyfriend and you do whatever. But the bottom line is, what are you there for? Studying.
How did you avoid those pitfalls yourself? Like you talk about not having a baby when you're at school. How did you do that? A personal experience can help others to learn. Well, how did you do to avoid that? Seeing a pretty woman like you with all the men, maybe did you South Africa with black men with money and all of that? Seeing a girl like you, and how did you avoid that happening to you? What we see
I
happening to
think
other women?
I think the most important thing is the focus. People must focus on what is at hand. Temptations will be there all the time, but at that space and point in time, what is it that you are busy with? I cannot be a 15-year-old schoolgirl during waking hours doing something else. It does not define a schoolgirl. So each and every phase that one goes through is there for a reason. If you are studying, you are studying, you are a student. And if you are working, you are working. You cannot be working and then now you want to go back and not do anything and and just lazy around. So I think it's a lot of discipline and knowing what you want. If you're gonna start something, you
It's
have to finish
17
it.
hours.
So uh, and the other thing I always say, you make it happen. There's no one that's gonna make it happen for you. If I didn't sit down and open the practice, no one was gonna do it. I opened that practice and I said, okay, I want to work with a dentist, an optometrist. I went and looked for them and they came and they're renting from me. And it's not because of what, but it's because of the discipline and them coming on board and understanding this is what she wants and this is how things are done. Yet at times you will meet speed humps on the way, but I think when you have the bigger picture of who you are and what you want, then things can fall into place, because you'll always go back to those basics and those fundamentals that, listen, I'm this type of a person and I operate like this, and you stick to those.
So do you, from your own opinion, do you think the government is doing enough to open up the profession of doctors or something, or even business or women owning business in South Africa? And what, in your opinion, do you think government should do to help other women to get into opening their own businesses in South Africa?
I think the one thing that government can have all sorts of platforms out there, but if people are not going to go out and tap into those platforms, it's a waste of time. You hear a lot of people say government this, government that, but how many people are actually doing it? How many people are actually filling in that tender form and submitting it on time and really doing it? Those are some of the things that we should look into and find out that are people really doing that push, because you need to push at some point in time. You need to tell yourself that, listen, I'm gonna do it whether it's raining, whether it's cold, whether I've got food or whether I don't have. This is what I wanna do. The most important thing is the passion and the drive. If they wanna, opportunities are there. You just have to open your eyes, you'll find an opportunity. The question is, what are you gonna do about it? Are you in a position to just say, okay, there goes another opportunity, or you jump in it and you act on it? Yes, obviously government can always do better in terms of maybe more educational platforms and more networking platforms and all that, reaching out to younger kids. But the most other important thing is that it's a two-way thing. They must be passionate about it. They must wanna do it, and yeah.
So I take it you have a family. How do you balance the two? What, being a career woman, a professional, and your family? Do you get support from your family? Do you have a husband? You have kids, or that? If you wouldn't mind talking about that.
Okay, I do have a husband. My husband is very, very supportive in everything that I do. I sort of ask him all, most of the things. I'm more of a, I want to do it now. He's more of an analytic person. He will say, hang on, have you checked this? Have you checked that? Have you checked that? Wait, let's not rush. Rather, start with this and start with that, and then you'll get there. As far as balancing family and all, one has to do it. You always feel guilty about the time that you're at work and your kids are not, you have to get somebody to pick up your kids, you can't do homework, you're so tired and all that. You are always caught up between that. But the time when I get to spend with them, I try and make the best out of it. Even though when you're starting a business, it's a bit difficult, but you try and get a balance.
Before getting married, did you have your practice, or did you get married before you have the practice? Which one came first for you?
Marriage came first.
Marriage before you started the practice, so it's like a family business. Now, why I'm asking you is because I meet a lot of women who say they're successful, they manage to start a business or something, but the men tend to be scared of people who are strong. So I thought this is an answer that I can get for people who keep asking me, and I have no idea because I don't know what men are afraid of.
I think, okay, I think it depends as a woman how you handle the finances and that. I think when you are married and there's me, yours, that's what complicates things. So if you start with the me and your car, his car, it's always gonna be a problem when you making more money than the other person. But if you don't see his and what, that shouldn't be a problem, because whatever money you make, you say, baby, there's the money, you can spend it, do whatever you want, because you trust his judgment, and that's how you work together as a couple. But I think the most important thing is where you come from together. If you haven't had that line in between of saying his car, his house, his what, then when you are married and you understand that whatever money that you make, it's for the family, it's for the two of you, then that shouldn't be a problem.
If a young girl should walk in here, what do you think that little girl can take from you going forward to help her in whatever career she chooses?
I think I think that it it most of the times it boils down to believing in yourself and believing in yourself and focusing, and knowing that there's no one else that's gonna do it for you. You have to do it yourself. I can't go and ask my mom and dad to come and run my race. I have to do it. I have if I mess up, I stand up, I go, I keep going. So that is the most important thing in whatever encounters that you get. You actually you can't give up.
Are you happy? Have you got to where you want to be, or there's still room for improvement?
Lots of room for improvement.
Okay, what would you say to maybe? I like to put women on the spot. Then we hear of a lot of abuse in the family structure and things like that. And some of these things happen because there's finance involved. Maybe the woman depends on the man or something like that, and then they subject their children into certain kind of things like that. Now, I like to get an opinion from a woman. What would you say to women who stay in the marriage or in a relationship that has abuse in it? How do you think they can cope? How can they get out of it? Where can they get help? Do you know things like that?
Okay. When I do work with a lot of women in Kailita, and when I encounter situations like that, I usually tell them that they have to, if somebody's hurting you, you have to make it stop. The way someone treats you, it's because you let them treat you like that. So if they hit you the first time and you take the necessary steps to sort it out, they'll never hit you again. So if they're in abusive relationships, maybe most of them is because they don't know that they don't need to be in that situation for them to, they don't need to be in that kind of a situation. If they don't put a stop on it themselves, no one else will do. So they have to just stand up for themselves and tell them that, listen, I don't like what you're doing. If you don't stop, I'm going to report you to the police. So, and I mean, there's a whole lot of women who are not married, who've got kids, and who are doing very well. So there's no reason why people should be stuck in abusive relationships because they are married to their husband or their boyfriend or whatever the situation is.
Maybe you can expose your practice a little bit deeper, the kind of things you do basically, so maybe people who need your services can come to you. Maybe if you can tell me more, just a little step that simple people can understand, not something complicated that has to be understood by people who are medically wise.
Okay.
Like you're a GP, talk about another field too. Maybe what can people get when they come to you? Like you're in Parkland now, you're in Kalisha, you're new here. We're talking about how people come here, they tend to want to go to the doctor. That's my job, so they wouldn't want to see maybe one of their friends coming to you or something. Now, when they come here as a GP, what do you do? Maybe if you can talk about that.
Okay. Okay. In Kailita, it's very medical because that's where I started, and the passion for aesthetic came along as part of it. So what we basically do, we do general consultations, wellness tests. There's a whole lot of people that don't know how often they must go and check their blood pressure, at what age, checking their status, knowing what are the benefits of knowing your status and all that. And we also do a lot of weight loss program management. Obesity, it's skyrocketing, and it's all because of the kind of food we eat, the lifestyle we live. People don't have time. You finish at 7 o'clock, you want the quick food to quickly get in McDonald's to buy. You don't know what damage you're doing to your body. So we do that as well. And in Parklands, we also have a medical spa where we do massages, we do facials, we do anti-aging treatments, women when they hit a certain age, even men for that matter, your face changes, you've got certain colors you don't like on your skin, there's acne coming out, there's, your skin doesn't glow as it used to as it used to be when you were growing up. So we do take care of that, and we also do Botox. A lot of people are not familiar with that, which is like we iron out the wrinkles. And when people age, gravity takes over, their cheeks fall, and the contours of their faces change. So we also do fillers as well. We do body mesotherapy, which is mainly whereby, let's say, you just want to lose a certain part of your body, and we do body mesotherapy on that area, which is just injections and everything.
Well, through Legal, we stand for motivating and inspiring. We like to use people who've done something and gone through a journey to maybe you can inspire the others. Finally, if you can just give a general word of advice to people out there, something that could help people out there, maybe from your own personal experience, especially young girls in the society, the things you see, the pitfall, just general words of encouragement or wisdom there.
Okay. I think in everything that we do, I know I have not talked about the spiritual aspect of it. Each and every person, we are where we are today because of a higher and a better being, be it God or being it what. So one has to have a sense of point of reference in whatever religion you believe in. That should always be the thing that somebody's watching over you, he cares for you and all that. But I think believing in themselves and knowing that you don't need to alter who you are to get certain things. You just have to keep on pushing, believing in yourself. And the one other interesting thing, every time you want to do something, write it down, put it somewhere. One day when you have forgotten, you will look back and see that paper, which happened to me, and I was so blown away. I'm like, oh my God, I managed to achieve all these things that I wanted to do when I first opened my practice, and I did not even have money at that time. And I sat down, I wrote, I want this car, this salary, this and that and that. Put it away. And last year, I don't know what I was doing. I looked, I'm like, oh my God, indeed I've achieved all those things. And I remember I was telling my friends, I'm like, you know what, when I wrote that list, I didn't even have money. Money was beside the point, but I knew I wanted those things. And the thing is, if you know what you want, whatever you do in life, you'll always be drawn to that thing. Doesn't matter how hard you run, but it will always haunt you that, I so want to do that. So their passions are there. They just need to follow them and go through with them. That little voice that says, read some more, grab this book. Something will just capture your attention, and you'll ask yourself, why am I so focused? Why can't I let this idea go? So you need to follow through, not just think about it, you need to follow it through, or write it down, and one day when you are sitting, you'll remember, okay, you see, this is what transpired.
Thank you so much. We've come to the end of the interview.
Thank you.